si biir Gambia bi dawal foofu sa quality jasna your number one stop shop. Ana sama jigéen ñi dama bëgg ngeen jox ma seen nopp garme yi ndaxte quality jasna amal nañ leen ay til yu toj daala poos abaaya yu yiiw waaye it amal nañ leen ay boreda yu rafet boreda yoo xam ne pour góor ñi la ak pour jigéen ñi amal nañ leen body scrub yi nga xam ne nii dafay defar seen yaram bam nice waaye it fàttewuñ fa diw yi. Ana sama jeeg yu pare yi quality jasna amal nañ leen fa andi cuuraay yu neex house spray ak bépp xeetu baax pour seen biir néeg dama ne atum ren jii ku sa jëkkër mere ku ne yow la neex ndaxte quality jasna ñëw na si dëkk bi pour defar sëy yi. Makeup artist yi bàyyi leen gannaaw ñu ngi leen fa amal ay makeup product yu quality waxu leen léegi nii foofa sa Westfield jàkkaarloog monument bi wala nga jokkoo quality jasna si 250 01 24 ak quality jasna taaral sa bopp taaral sa néeg waaye it bégal sa alaaji aas.
Futandila mulma min yalon ko wolle be wasintin sate kono ko wato sitale pour nga soutero ke num fanan nga nyo hakilo bulandi domestic violence la sembola warola na kabilol ka na tare man yin faham domestic violence atele man toraro sifati anin maral nyal min yalon ko man ki maral nya kendolti mel ka kenu amin hani kabiya ka kele sakantuma moltema min yalon ko kan ñoma fulol lem na korlal kono ada be wol kono membe ko nin kan ñoma fulol dañola doye do lifa wala fa junkule wala fa kule kala mi yalon ko anatana filka balo bale mi yalon ko man torol lem mi yalon abe bankere ni man torol mi yalon ko akabon na kuma kangol leto membe ko nin kan ñoma fulol do kiliye do nen wala ye kaja firi kuma kangol fama wala ye kuma kan fama amari na ta fanje ko ate mo doyari ngolati wala mo ndingole mwati wol be ka man toro e sabu warantu moni moy kafu fanan ayatere amanke dokilin na dunyoti man toro wol fanan min yalon ko ika hakilo le tora membe ko nin kanu nyoma fulol dokilin ye kuke amonyo la mi yalon ko anata sabu fo amari nata hakili problème soto warantu nabe siring akatu kam fala fango le doron ñun be kam mantoro le sabu mantoro rol min yalon ko fana fanko la ko sabu melbe ko ni monyo e maral nyaake la ko do la ban wala ko la fanko le ban ay maral nyaaka la maral nyaala mi yalon ko ite fango buke fangu na fanno akono isina tu ko amari le ko keno amari ko pour que ni domestic violence bali kake nyanta ka kabilo le sodo mi yalon ko taranyobul kendol be soto laje adum bajala ko ma taranyobul jawol ngol bang fere nato ko ite la tale ko nyum mon rol be kan fero ke yekumandiro ke Washington West African Center la My guest today here is the Executive Director of Fact Check Center, Omar Saibo Kamara. Omar, I hope Omar will not fact check me too here, today also. So before we go further, I'll just give you a few seconds to greet the viewers because you've already eaten some from my time.
Right. Thank you very much, Conte, for having me here. I think my face is becoming very familiar with Talents TV. I remember in 2019 when I was doing the protest against deportation. This was the favorite TV that I've done most of my interviews, and it's also a pleasure being here. I'm sorry for coming late. It has been a tight schedule for me this week, and I'm technically sick right now.
So I know, and I think now people are used to your face when it comes to demonstrations, and also, countering information,
Yeah, I think
So
I'm shifting. I think
sometimes when I see you publish, I just try to go down and check whether it's not serious or.
I know, right? A lot of people do that. A lot of people do that. But I think I am shifting from street protests to more of protesting against information. And even though I love protest, and I'm gonna be always gonna have the voice of the people around, but I think it's important that we hear. So everybody now when we populate, everybody will rush to see whose name is on the list. But that makes the job more interesting, and that makes the purpose of the fact check center been felt. That is to ensure that every information out there is counted, is filtered, and checked before consumed by the public.
Yeah. So first of all, Umar, how did the idea? We've you've been coming here, like you said, and there was a program also that I invited you in Bankola Kuwo, I think twice.
Yeah, I think
and,
I've been
something like that. Yeah. But the topic wasn't focused on fact check. So, but today, first of all, we will start by how did the idea of fact checking came? Because I understand you're learning or you are studying political science at the university, and but then how is the idea of fact checking? How did it came about?
Well, interesting question. The idea around fact checking came about sometime in 2020 to 2021. So what happened first is I was really figuring out where do I fit in, whether in the government, because I've worked in the government. Of course, I've been a teacher, and I've also done some work at the National Assembly as researcher sometime, and also I have worked in the civil society, and I have also worked in the local councils. My last 6 months before I created the fact check center, I was working as administrative officer at the Brikama area council. So the idea around fact check came when I was working at the Center for Research and Policy Development as programs officer and research assistant for democratic governance, with focus on transitional justice. And at some point, that was the day my boss shared an article with me that the article title was, I think, information in the new era, information in new information era, something like that. So when I read through, came across very unfamiliar words like information disorder, fake news, disinformation, and all of that. So I searched what does this information mean, and then the idea of fact checking pop in. So when that happens, my boss asked me to create kind of a concept around what I understood, and then we see if we can partner with people. Already he knew an organization in Nigeria that was actually working around this information, and they have intentions to extend that to the Gambia. So we wrote a strategy plan on this information and countering fake news for the Gambia, and then we sent it there, and then luckily it was approved, and I started working as the project officer in the Gambia on the CRPD on fact checking. So whilst I was at CRPD, and then I was already finishing university, and then I wanted to have a new experience. I wanted to taste whether really civil society, apart from the normal aggressive activism and protest, now the civil society work is meant for me. And I left to join the UTG graduate scheme program, and then I was posted to Brikama as administrative officer for 6 months. So whilst I was there, the idea of, okay, I can still go back to the Center for Research and Policy Development and work around the project on fake news, but it's a transported project. It's not a national one. And then before that, I've not had anything about fact checking, even though Malagan was doing fact checking, but there were no organization. And then when I continue studying about fake news, I've seen a lot of organizations around the world, Fact Check Ghana, Dubai, Fact Africa Checks, and all of that. So there were a lot of fact check organizations in other countries around the world, and I deemed it fitting that there should be one here. So I did a sketch concept, and then I reached out to one of my trusted friends, Mariama. We did university together, and she has been one of the most supportive to everything I do. So sometimes I would tell her everybody can see something stupid in my ideas, but she will always try to figure out something in what I say. So I reached out to Mariama. This is the idea I have, and I want to work with you. What do we do? So me and Mariama came together and then developed a more broader concept around around the center, give it a name. We came up with a lot of names. I remember one of the name is True Zone, and we also try to look at some local names. But at the end of the day, we want it to look obvious. And I remember Mariama saying, why are we looking for all these names? It's fact-checking organization. So Fact Check Center the Gambia is the best name for it. So we adopted that name, invited people, we had our meetings and all of that, and then we registered it and then published it to the public sometime August 28, 2021. So basically this was the idea around. But the other motivating factor for me was the idea that I want to stay in the civil society and I want to do something different that no one else is doing. So I capitalized on that when I got access to know what fake news is about, to say, okay, there is no fact-checking organization if you come to our civil society space. So I want us to do this. So I and Mariama sit over that and we came up with the Fact Check Center.
And you have been fact-checking that.
Yes.
So basically, what do you or how do you react to the saying that fact-checking is not an occupation, for somebody focusing on, because I have heard informations, or I have heard some saying fact-checking is not an occupation, something like that. But
you heard
it
about
seems
it.
funny, oh?
It seems not funny. It seems those people are just exposing their ignorance. And everybody have your expertise. So it's also important for people to stay at their lanes and their expertise, and then not to talk about things they don't understand. Fact checking is a full-time job, and fact checking is a profession all around the world. And then people are paid, almost $60,000 per year just because they are fact checkers. And there is no job that is not a profession. What is important is professions are built on expertise. You have an expertise and you have a passion for something, you create things around that. Somebody can tell you journalism is not a profession because the person is not interested in journalism. But also I know one thing is that if you go around the world, certain people that I know that are saying fact checking is not a job. Fact checking is more noble than the job some of them are doing, and more paid than the jobs they are doing. If you fact checking is a job, people take it as a career. That's why we have fact checkers. And then you go anywhere and you start, you will see fact checker as a profession, and you see the monthly salary attached to it and all of that. And people around the world are specializing in fact checking. There are courses you can do to specialize in fact checking and specializing around this information research. And exactly. So if you are this information research, you are technically a fact checker, and then that is a profession. That's a profession that in fact people are offering scholarships to people that want to specialize in this information research. So if you're telling me that it's not a profession, probably you don't know and you need to make more research about it. But it's a profession that somebody can take up as a job, and it's a noble job that is one of the most interesting jobs. And then one thing I'm saying is I'm not discrediting normal journalism, but at some point we will have to see a lot of people that are having journalism background transforming more to fact checking, because as the world grow, the information space becomes more problematic, and then now people are interested more on checking facts and be more factual than the normal journalism space. So fact checking also have a lot to do with journalistic work, and most of the time journalists. That's why most of the time if you go around the world, people with journalism background, and that is why people find it funny. Like if I talk to people around the world and fact checking, how do you do this? But also you need to understand not every journalist went to school and then study journalism. People start and later, even though sometimes I have interest to have a background in journalism and all of that. So it's a profession, and people that are out there saying they're not profession, probably some of them have been fact checked, and then because of that they just want to do some discredit around the fact checking.
We will come to that. So for example, or let's look at this thing. When you now started doing fact check, you understand, have you been going through some training with regards to the fact checking, how to become a very professional or a very good fact checker around the world?
Yeah, of course. I think in fact before the fact check center was established, I went through trainings. I had background on fact checking. I went through training by international organizations like First CDD is one of the main partners of CRPD then, and then I have gone through a lot of fact checking training with them. That gives me more motivation. But also beyond that, I have been in connection with fact checkers around the world, in China, in Taiwan, everywhere, and then we do a lot of indoors training around fact checking. And then I have taken online courses as well on fact checking. There are organizations that offer online courses on fact checking. I've done a lot of that and my team as well. So I am building my capacity generally on fact checking, because I know one thing is one of the most interesting job, but one of the most riskiest job you can do. And nobody sits to say I am a fact checker just like that. Even teachers cannot just say I'm a teacher like that. So I've been doing a lot of courses, and my team equally have been doing a lot of courses around fact checking and all of that. And yeah.
Yeah. So when you started with Mariama, your colleague, right? Now, what is the amount of let's say staff you're having currently?
Yes, so I think right now we are 7, and with more demand. I don't know why everybody wants to work for the fact check center anyway, but I think that is also because of people are interested in the job, and the job is interesting. So right now, we started with a team, but I think unfortunately, it's just me and Mariama right now in the team. Because are all new. The people, I can remember the first meeting we had, none of those people that we invited are currently with us. But we also need to understand that if you're growing as an organization, those are some of the things that you will do. There are people that will drop along the way, and whilst you build up. But for the past 1 year, we have in a standard staff of 6, 7, with one intern. So I think it's 6 with one intern, and we are intending to invite 2 more interns by next week. So now we have a full team, and then they're all trained, and then some of them do very, very good fact checking stories.
So do you have let's say other functions that you also do, for example capacity building, or for example
yeah. So we have the bottom top system and this top bottom, like. So while the top bottom is to ensure that the information out there is checked, we also do build capacities, because I think in fact fact checkers around the world right now are more focusing on building capacity to ensure that before you go to the information space to say this one is this information or not, you train people how not to spread this information. So we do a lot of capacity building training with central focus on media and information literacy, because we believe that a lot of people interact with the media, especially social media, but they don't know how to deal with online content. They don't know how to receive and how to deal with information they receive online. So I think capacity building is one key component of the job we do. And we also create awareness, because fact checking this information is become problematic, and it threatens democracy, especially democratic governance, with special focus on elections, because we need to understand that during elections, that's why you have a lot of information out there. Sometimes fact checkers are overwhelmed that we cannot even go after everything. Like right now, we have a lot on the table, we are running up and down, we are fact checking a lot, but sometimes it's a bit problematic. So to avoid all of that, we have a central mandate. We want to build capacity of young people. We want to build capacity of politicians. We want to build capacity of journalists. We want to build capacity of every individual who interacts with the media, so that they know how to interact with the media with a central focus, especially out of school and people that are not in the education space, to know that not everything on the media is true. My mom in the village there will think anything that comes out of the media, because it's the media, it's true. So those are ideas that we put into people, and those are capacity building that we done. And we have done a lot of capacity building training. And I remember sometime last year we have trained over 300 students in the Greater Banjul area on understanding this information, how it spreads, and how they can become quick individual fact checkers of their own, how they verify and all of that. But also we train them on media literacy to understand that every information that comes in needs to be checked. You don't have to share. You don't have to be, that fake news exists, and then it's spread within us. And we've also recently, after the before the councilorship elections, we have taught the tertiary institutions in the Gambia, where we train almost 50 in each school on media literacy. And you understand that if you're training these people, even though they're in the universities and then the MDIs and the college, you need to understand that people's understanding of media is very, very low, and then how they become interested in knowing some of these technicalities that they can use to save themselves from being either spreaders or victims of this information, or generally the toxicity of the
So
media.
are you partnering with the government at this moment?
No, we don't partner with the government. I think we will at some point partner with the government, because what we do, like right now, we are thinking around training communication officers in government ministries around disinformation and misinformation, and how to spot, because also how to protect their online pages, because we have seen a lot of scam, which is also part of a category categorized under disinformation. A lot of scamming pages contrary to the pages of the ministry coming in. So we are open to to partnerships, and we can partner with anybody as far as it doesn't go against the principles of fact checking or the principles of the organization.
Yeah. So now, checking facts sometimes can be very problematic to others. For example, if I just stand here and say something, tomorrow you stand there or you write 2-3 paragraphs to say what you say is not true, this and that and that. Not everybody, like to be rectified. So how do you cope with this? Because, definitely if you go against the information of some people, they will come back and react. Definitely. How do you deal with this?
Well, so the job is the job, and that's it. That's it. So what we do is we don't listen to people that cry back. What we do is we as a fact-checking organization, one of our principles is transparency of source and all other things that we do. So if we fact-check you and you find it problematic, you counter. So that's why most of the time people will joke, jokingly, a lot of people will start telling me, who fact-check the fact-checkers? I tell them the public. If we publish something about you and you believe you have a counter evidence to say what our publication is not true, you bring it out, and then that becomes controversy around us. But we don't care about people's reaction to our fact checking. What we do is do the job and then do it to the best of our ability and then publish out there. And then that's why I keep telling people, fact checkers, we are not robots. We do research. We go beyond the normal journalistic work. We gather evidence. I can tell you for free. So anytime we publish, know that we are ready to publish, and then we have evidence, and we'll be ready for anybody that wants to counter. Because there are times we will discontinue fact checking stories because we don't have the main evidence that could give us the backing to say yes, this is conclusive. Or sometimes we cannot access the main source. But other than that, we expect people to always come back at us, like Dr. Ismail Cisse did, and like also Kemo Fati.
Yeah, I'm
Kemo Fati did.
Now, in the case of Kemo Fati, I could recall saying the Bakote dump site, fencing of Bakote dump site was funded by KM and SOS Children's Village, something like that. How did you go about that? How did you go about that up to the conclusion that you will make your publication?
So that's what I'm saying. So what we do is you look at the claim. What are the involvement? Who are involved in the claim? So if you look at the claim, KMC was involved, KMO was involved, SOS was involved, and SOS project is under. I forgot the name of the project, but there's a project under so what we did was reach out to all the parties, even though Kemo denied being reached to, and that becomes problematic because we have these WhatsApp messages that could be disappearing. I don't know if you know about that, but I don't think we were gonna lie against Kemo that we contacted him. I know, but also we could reserve our whole idea about contacting him. So for us, what we expected from Kemo was to counter the facts. That would have been more problematic, to say no, what I said is what is true and come with evidence. But Kemo relied on the fact that we cannot have evidence that we contacted him. We could have preferred not to contact him. And then there's nothing wrong with not contacting Kemo and have the evidence and publish. So why would we say we contacted him when we don't? That was my point with him. But other than that, when he counter, I don't know if you have been following, he said he will come back. He came and said he was countering the fact that we said we contacted him and we didn't contact him, but he will come out to make more clarification on that post. But today, if you go to Kemo's timeline, he have deleted that post.
Yes, personally, I was doing my research.
Exactly.
I went through that, but I couldn't see that. But there was a time I have seen that what you were saying with regards to that one. I have searched it, but I could not see it. But there was a time I was seeing it.
Yeah,
now in your own case, don't you think also, like you are saying, you can gather your facts without contacting Kemo, and at the end of the day, publish what you have. If Kemo have counter evidence or facts, for example, he can bring them. Don't you think you should try to communicate him first in your normal procedure? Or
that's what I'm saying, and that's why we communicated him.
You communicated him through WhatsApp?
Yeah,
exactly. Only WhatsApp?
Exactly, through WhatsApp. So this is the thing. I know as fact checkers, there's room to learn. Me, I don't deny the fact that there could be better way. Like Kemo said, we could have emailed him and all of that. Of course, we could have emailed him. You know, we could have sent him an email and all of that. So we learn on all of that. But saying we did not contact him is not true. We did. We contacted him. And and people saw that message from the office. I'm not the only one that saw that message.
And when you contacted him, what did he say?
Wait, when I when if you are on my there's this thing about WhatsApp, they can delete messages, right? So when I contacted Kemo read my messages, he did not respond. You understand? Kemo did not respond until when we did the publication, because Kemo is part of my broadcast list. Okay. So you know what? So there's a lot to tell Kemo that we have nothing to hide. I could have preferred remove Kemo. He was just gonna see it somewhere, but I could have removed it. I sent him the publication myself. You understand? So if Kemo said we did not contact him, so all what I wanted to say is we have gone ahead with the fact checking without contacting Kemo, and we're still gonna be right. There's nobody that is gonna hold accountable why we did not contact Kemo, because Kemo's claim that we should confirm is already in the public space, is already out there, and Kemo made two controversial claims.
Yeah, the two roads in the dump site, exactly, and also the fencing.
And we fact checked that. And we published a day before we published the false one. So what happened is, I have my broadcast list. That is my own broadcast list where I share our stories. That day, I did not go to office. I was on meeting after meeting. So when my people published, I did not even check the publication. Okay. So I did not broadcast that one. So to Kemo, because that one was true, I did not broadcast them because we are hunting him. I don't know, like, I don't want to sound rude, but I don't think there is nothing about Kemo that a whole organization that we have been working for so hard is going to hunt. What? No, I know I have never talked about this in the media, and I don't want to talk about it. But what about?
No, it has to come.
What about Kemo? I saw his talibes also saying, because we are some broke youths that came together to form organizations. Now politicians are paying us to do that. So those are all comments that came from young people, and I think young people, regardless of what we are involved in, what we could do is to support each other. If somebody is wrong, somebody is wrong. If Kemo believes that he was right with his claims, he could have not just come up and just stop at we don't contact him. He could have come up with all his counter claims against our story. I don't know whether you understand what I mean. Yeah, so that's what happened. So over and over, what I want to tell people is Fact Check Center is not here for anybody. Right? If Fact Check Center is an independent organization, and our work is to check anybody. And even people that give us money tomorrow, you entered in a controversial message that needs checking, we are going to fact check you. So we don't even compromise with who to fact check, and we don't have any interest in fact checking one and leaving the other. We don't have the time, So I want to make that very clear. And the Kemo issue, I don't know.
So there are claims that you pick your stories that you wanted to fact check. You pick them.
But why would we? Why? You know what? If you go to our website, you will find it very clear. If you find it clear that we said that stories that have potentials of misleading, there are stories that you cannot fact check. There are stories that are obvious, and then they don't even worth fact checking. So Kemo also made that claim that after everything he said, we picked that part and fact check. So this is what we do. Like right now, like when Keksane, I think Keksane went to
I've been following
to Bakau and then make a claim. Fact Check Center did not do anything. We were waiting for a counter claim. So that's the controversy.
Let's say counter claim
exactly. So now if what for us, our intention is to make the public stand a better chance to get the facts. Now if you say something, it's in the public space, that we'll monitor it. Now if we see somebody's countering and say no, this is not what it is, now the referee comes in. No, one person, if you are playing football alone, you don't need a referee, do you?
That's obvious. Yeah.
Exactly. But the moment you have an opponent that also wants to kick the ball, now it becomes important to have a referee. And then Fact Check Center is a referee in the information space. You understand? And now we have talked up the issue because we have seen MC Cham counter with another claim.
Yeah,
you understand? So now I've reached out to Kex and he has given me where he got his evidence from, and we are running a check on that. So those are the kind of things we do. So when Kemo's issue came up, probably everything he said in this video was true, but these were two things where that people from KMC and other people were trying to counter. These are the people that brought controversy in the public space. That's our interest, to clear the space, to ensure that neither him or the other camp are not misleading the public. So that's what we do. So we are not selective, but we are also careful with the kind of information that we fact check. That is obvious. That is everywhere. And information that have potentials of misleading, and if that also have potentials of leading to issues that may be dangerous to our democracy, to our progress as a society, to our peace, we go after those stories. That's what we do.
So for checks claims, you are on progress right now.
Yeah, we are on it. We are on it. We are on my fact checkers are on the run. We are going to fact check it, even if it is 2 years time to get.
Yeah, let's say if the person, let's say for example, the person made or voice out an information, at the end of the day realizes that what he released was, there's something wrong with it, and then came up with a rejoinder, you are still going to follow that information?
Well. So
or that one.
So the rejoinder will only help us to gather more facts. With the rejoinder, still you are going ahead. Of course, for us, we're going to publish our all. What we could do is to have the rejoinder a part of it, and say, however, whilst we were on our fact checking, the person himself came out and said this and this and this and this, and we now compare to our evidence to see, in fact, if that also is true or not. You understand what I mean? Because that is the idea. Right now, if issues came up in the public space, I can tell you for free, I think the fact check center have built that name for itself. The moment that is claiming the public space that my WhatsApp are very busy, people are going to say, Saibo, hi Yankuba, hi Mariama, hi Molamin, hi Jula, can you guys check this for us? And that is the purpose why we are here, for governments to be able to run to us to ensure that we fact check things for them, and that is happening. So regardless of your rejoinder, we're still gonna run a fact check on that.
All right. So yes, just to remind you again, that is Omar Saibo Kamara, the executive director of Fact Check Center, Gambia. Of course, fact checking is not an easy one, because you have a lot of critics and everything. That is the reason why when you say you normally take time to go through your informations and check it properly, I think that one is very important. It's very important. So Omar, when you go into demonstrations after the establishment of Fact Check Center, do you go there as Omar, an activist, or do you remove your that gram book of fact checking, something like that?
People have different personalities, of course, and I'm an activist, and I've been working in the civil society, and before I become executive director of the Fact Check Center. So if I am going on behalf of the Fact Check Center, it's the Fact Check Center, and anytime I speak on issues outside fact checking, outside this information around human rights, that is Saibo as an activist, and Saibo as a human rights defender. That is different. And if I go to protests, I go to protest because I feel like it's a fundamental human right, and also I could join people's voice to ensure that we hold our governments to account. So that's different from my fact checking job, and they have nothing to do with each other. I'm a fact checker at the office, and I go to workshops and meetings on behalf of the Fact Check Center as their executive director, and I also have a personal life beyond as a activist. Even though sometimes it's very complicated, but you could see that's why. And the last time when I had issues, I liked the way the media handled it, because I was scared the media could have sent the executive director of the Fact Check Center has been punched, but I've seen the whole idea around Omar Saibo, the human rights activist. So that is the case. At that spot, I was not executive director at the Fact Check Center. I was a human rights activist that was fighting for a genuine cause, different from my normal job at the office or something. So things like that could happen. But I have two caps. I could be working here as fact checker today, but also I have that love to defend this human rights. Even though my job at fact checking is also human rights, access to accurate information is a fundamental human right, and that's what I'm trying to ensure. But also sometimes I want to go into the radical activism space.
So currently, how do you observe President Adama Barrow's government? What is your, what did you observe there currently, especially especially when this campaign started, from nominations to campaigns? Right now we are getting a lot of information.
Now you're getting it complicated. Yeah, I'm here today as
I'm
here today as a fact checker.
And an activist.
No.
You want to remove that aside?
If we want to talk about Adama Barrow, we come to Bankola Kuwo.
So you want to hold me there?
Yes. So, but I think generally, I think President Barrow has been a bit much with the things he's doing. I always said this. I think day before yesterday, I said it, that I think President Barrow should start acting like a president, and then know that he's more of a unifier than a divider. As a country that everybody look up to him, and politics for him should stop after the presidential elections. He has a party, the party can politics. He can also go to his political rallies and talk about issues that will bring us more hope, both not to divide us. And then I think the president have been doing a lot of defense lately, and I think that is a bit on call for a president, and that could be problematic, and then that could lead to a whole lot of disrespect and all of that for President Barrow. And President Barrow needs to know that if presidents speak, they should give hope. If presidents speak, they should inspire. They should give hope for a better nation. They should give us a direction that Gambia is going to be the Gambia that we have been fighting for. But President Barrow is really, really very demotivating. And anytime he speaks, it sounds very terrible. And I think that is not going to help us as a country. And
But not anytime, Omar. Oh, anytime.
I think anytime. I think lately, anytime Barrow speaks is terrible. All the time Barrow speaks, it's rather unfortunate that Barrow is president. That's going to be my last conclusion on that.
Yeah, on that. So yeah, since you want to pull me back to fact-checking issue, how did it go about with regards to your encounter with Ismaila Cisse with regards to what you were just mentioning here?
Well, I think I do not have any encounter with Dr. Ismaila.
Yes, because in the beginning you were just saying something like Ismaila.
Yeah. So what happened is Ismaila is a politician. Ismaila is a public figure, and then we fact check Ismaila, and that's it. So
on what exactly?
On the truck issue, I don't know if you've been following us. There were times that during the National Assembly elections, he been accused. I think National Assembly elections or the presidential elections. I'm not sure. But he had been accused of taking pickups from.
Yeah, that was the presidential election.
During the presidential elections, that he took pickups and then campaigned for MPP, and we followed that story, and we find out to be true. And in fact, we had number plates of pickups that were on. And actually, I don't think Ismaila denied the fact, because when we published this story, Ismaila called me personally, and we had a long conversations around that.
And what did he say?
No, so he was just saying, like, was he the one that was driving the pickups? Was he the one trying to make it look like, okay, but why is it wrong? I'm a politician and I have right to do some of these things. And also was saying, why shouldn't we not contact him? Why will we just do a fact checking and then publish without contacting him?
So he was having problem about that.
Yeah, he has problems about that, but his party also have a problem, and they wanted to take us to court. Because they said they don't have a problem with the fact check, according to them, but we use a picture that has their badge. The Ismaila's picture that we use had their badge, and then their diaspora president, something Ali or something, called me, send me emails, saying that you're gonna go to court. We're going to go to court. We should give them evidence of where we think that. So I told them, CA, look, this is not your fact check. We did not say we are fact checking CA. We said we are fact checking Dr. Ismaila. So when I told them that, the guy came back and said, but you use our party MLM and all of that. I said them, okay, that's fine. I told them, see you in court. That was my last message with them, and I did not hear from them again. But the fact of the matter is, Ismaila did not that fact check did not go well down with Ismaila. But I think Ismaila looks at beyond the job we both doing, that he's a politician, I'm a fact checker. And me and Mariama have been one of the closest to Ismaila, from our university days and all of that. I stayed a bit longer in the university, but we have been very, very close to Ismaila. We literally do everything together with Ismaila in his house, in the beach. We play football together. We go to.
You were like a family.
Yeah.
So then after that, what happened?
So nothing happens actually until recently, that I and Ismaila personally went into some little bit of fights, because he went to the classroom and then looked at one of my staff, and told the guy that being a fact checker is not a job and all of that. And then that has been something he has been saying around, and in fact discouraging people that are working at the fact checker center to leave. And I've warned him not to be doing that, and he refused. So I went after him.
Personally?
Yeah, personally, I went after him. I sent me a voice note, I called him, and I also went on social media and attacked. So, but over and over, those were all things when a bit we were angry and all of that. But other than that, I don't have anything against Ismaila. Ismaila have a life to live. I have a life to live, even though I don't think Ismaila is somebody that I and him can vibe anymore and all of that. But I don't have any personal issues with Ismaila. No personal issues.
Yeah. I think the time has gone now. Now, finally, Umar, if you have something to say, because already you've taken some of my time, and I don't want to.
Yeah, for you, you have to forgive me. I have been very very busy lately, and I'm gonna catch up with a Twitter space on elections and disinformation. I think it's already 6, right? And
so-
yeah. So what I'm gonna say is to the Gambian people is that social media is growing, technology is growing, and then the internet is getting more toxic by the day, and these are things that really matters if you come to and this information. So this information is real, and when we talk about this information, we're talking about stories and informations that are not true, but also are deliberately spread. The person knows that it's not true, but goes ahead to spread them because the person have intentions to mislead the public. And then people should be very very careful of this information, because it leads to, most of the time when we talk about this information, it leads to hate speech, or hate speech leads to disinformation, to malinformation, and all of that, and it's very very dangerous to our democracy. And then it leads to stories and informations that are really not true, and then consuming that, whereas we all understand and agree that information is power, and then it's what one power citizens have to make informed decisions, and it becomes problematic. I think people need to be careful with the kind of information they spread out there. People need to be accurate, but also receivers needs to know that any information you receive is not worth sharing or believing until you check. Verify information before you share, and be careful with the kind of informations that are out there that you need to check before you do. But information is really this information is dangerous. It threatens your democracy, it threatens your human rights, it threatens one of the principles or biggest principles to democratic governance, that is elections, and it becomes everybody's business to fight this information, to combat this information, to tackle this information, and to become a fact checker.
All right, thank you very much, Umar. Thank you for taking time. Because I just said, I thought you you weren't going to make it, but thank God you came at the end of the day. So thank you very much for that, and thank you for watching, viewers. Until another day, thank you very much. Bye.
ku yoddu sa xët te quality jas na ñoo yor seen cumbukaay tur day uyu borom jas na pire soo ko bëggee fii si biir Gambia bi dawal foofu sa quality jas na your number one stop shop. Ana sama jigéen ñi dama bëgg ngeen jox ma seen nopp garme yi ndaxte quality jas na amal nañ leen ay til yu toj daala poos abaaya yu yiiw waaye it amal nañ leen ay boreda yu rafet, boreda yoo xam ne pour góor ñi la ak pour jigéen ñi. amal nañ leen body scrub yi nga xam ne nii dafay defar seen yaram bam nice waaye it fàttewuñ fa diw yi. Ana sama jeeg yu pare yi quality jas na amal nañ leen fa andi cuuraay yu neex, house spray ak bépp xeetu baax pour seen biir néeg. dama ne atum ren jii ku sa jëkkër mere ku ne yow la neex, ndaxte quality jas na ñëw na si dëkk bi pour defar sëy yi. Makeup artist yi bàyyi leen gannaaw, ñu ngi leen fa amal ay makeup product yu quality. waxu leen léegi nii foofa sa Westfield jàkkaarloog monument bi, wala nga jokkoo quality jas na si 250 0124. ak quality jas na taaral sa bopp, taaral sa néeg, waaye it dëggal sa alaaji aas.